Hello and welcome. I'm Leigh-Ann Gerrans and you're watching W News Extra, broadcasting live from the Al Arabiya studios. These are our top stories. Protesters shut down roads across Israel, demanding a deal to free hostages as global pressure grows over the war in Gaza. Meanwhile, Reform UK leader Nigel Farage unveils sweeping deportation plans, challenging international law and putting pressure on Starmer's government. And Trump has threatened tariffs and export restrictions on countries targeting US tech giants like both Google and Apple. Protests have erupted across Israel today, with demonstrators blocking major roads and rallying outside ministers' homes, demanding a deal to free hostages held in Gaza. Families of the captives say the Israeli military operations is putting their loved ones at risk. Meanwhile, international pressure is mounting, with Ireland calling for collective EU action against Israel. To discuss this and all of today's stories, I'm joined by Al Arabiya senior presenter Rawiya Alami and Dubai 92 presenter Jono Hayes. Rawiya, let's start with you with regards to Israel. So we just talked about protests there earlier, but they're actually carrying on into the evening. We're still seeing protesters out on the streets. There's so much mounting pressure now in Israel on the government regarding the situation.
Absolutely. The pressure is definitely mounting internally on the Israeli government. These protests are definitely intensifying. They're growing in size and intensity. They are much more serious now than what we've seen in the past months. They are also spreading to different areas, to Tel Aviv, to Jerusalem, and also to Haifa. We are seeing also support from sectors of the Israeli society that has been relatively silent so far and not participating in such demonstrations. We're talking about the military, also the academia. There are open letters and also protests by reservists, by educators and security officials. The demands are also a bit, have changed a bit because in the past we have seen the demands to release all hostages, the demands of the Israeli government of these protests to go for a hostage deal. Now the additional demand of these protests is to end the military operation in Gaza.
Yeah, and I also thought that really stood out to me. And of course, the hostage families are really involved in these protests,
yes.
And they are calling on the government to not carry out this occupation in order to save their loved ones, because there's so much uncertainty right now. But you know, we've spoken about this many times, Jono and Rawiya, on the show. The international community, it comes out, it condemns Israel's actions within Gaza and what we saw happen at the Al Nasser hospital in southern Gaza yesterday in Khan Yunis. But I just wonder if collective EU action is just once again not going to amount to anything.
Unfortunately, the issue is that it's not going to be collective EU action. And this seems to be the hard stance that happens all the time. Today we've seen Ireland's Taoiseach and Foreign Affairs Minister, who's effectively the second in command to the Taoiseach of the Prime Minister, Simon Harris, say that Ireland is calling on the EU to collectively get together and to have it's obviously, this is unprecedented, he's not said this before, that EU collective action could have a huge, powerful difference, and it really could make a difference, an impactful difference in Israel. The issue is there will always be a stumbling block, and we won't have a united EU who will come out and say Israel's actions need to be condemned. And as long as that happens, you have certain factions. We have Spain, we have Ireland that are saying, we have Canada that are saying, right, we need to have some decisive action here. And we just won't achieve that. There will be the stumbling blocks, like Hungary, like Germany, who will refuse to condemn Israel's actions. And therefore, it's not a united EU front. It's more one or two countries within the bloc, or several countries within the bloc, which really doesn't pack the same clout. And we've seen Netanyahu's government again and again really be relatively unfazed by smaller countries saying we're going to have our own separate trade agreement whereby we don't trade with Israel. That's worth them in the millions, 3 to 5 million if you look at Spain or Ireland's exports towards Israel. It really is a tiny, tiny blip, and it makes no difference without the collective voice of the EU or even one better, the US, of course, which is the big stumbling block. Effectively, we're just going around in circles, and I think it's wonderful. It's a wonderful step in the right direction for Ireland and for Canada and for Spain to say that this is what we need. But it really is, unfortunately, words that are not going to have a lot of action and won't be heard.
I think the weight in Europe, it lies with Germany. So as long as Germany is not willing to condemn Israel's actions in Gaza, it's going to be very hard to see a European united action against Israel. Yet I think the voices like the Irish voice are very important because at least in the long term, they shape a European debate about sanctions, about accountability, about international law as well. And that's why I think it is quite important, even though it doesn't carry a lot of sort of immediate effect right now.
But it's also the country standing up, I guess, for what they believe in, and they'll be known for that in the future when history makes up its mind on exactly what's happened, because we normally wait for the history books, don't we, to tell us. But I also think it's quite interesting. We talk about Germany, and Germany says it's not going to recognise a Palestinian state, you know, unlike other European countries that have come out and said they are willing to do that at the United Nations meeting in September, which is, of course, coming up. But they were also waiting for this initial inquiry from the IDF, Germany, and we have lines from that initial inquiry and into the Al Nasser hospital yesterday, which saw 2 strikes on the hospital. It killed journalists and it killed 20 people. And, of course, Netanyahu came up quickly, said it was a mishap. But now Israel claims troops saw Hamas camera before deadly strike on the hospital, and then they thought Hamas was setting up a camera to spy on IDF soldiers, and this is why that strike happened. So, Rawia, once again, we're in that situation. What is the truth? Where do we stand right now?
I mean, when you talk about IDF investigations, I think there are a lot of questions about credibility here, and we're not talking about just this investigation. We're talking about investigations that the IDF have announced for years now. Probably the last one we remember not to do even with the war in Gaza was the killing of the journalist Markle in Jenin. Now, what is the credibility of these investigations? What happens? What are the findings? Who is held accountable? These people that are pointed out, whether it is the mistake of a general or just a soldier, are they held accountable? Are they tried? Are they sentenced?
Well,
of course, we've never heard of such cases. So.
But I think what Jono also said earlier was interesting. You know, the international community can speak out against Israel, but nothing's really happening. And I think Israel feel emboldened right now because they also have the backing of the US.
Yeah.
And they determined to eradicate Hamas, even though Hamas has agreed to a ceasefire.
I think what Germany have done when they say something like, we're going to wait for the IDF to release their report on something that we know they may or may not have been directly tragic incident or otherwise have been involved in for the wrong reasons, is effectively like saying we're waiting for chickens to release a report on KFC. You know exactly what that's going to be because you are the guys who are on the inside and you're releasing this report. And I think again and again, like you said, Rawia, we've seen their true colours being shown on this. And because there is no international journalists who are on the ground who can give us the reports on this.
Because Israel doesn't allow the international
journalists.
You
wonder why. Or how we're supposed to get the truth of this matter. And I think, again, we end up with this condemnation on something and it's said to be a tragic mishap, and Netanyahu said it's been a tragic mishap, and there's other incidents of them saying that Hamas were having a stronghold there, or there was Hamas cameras being set up. So the true story will probably never be known. But the big issue, and this is what we said about the hostages' families, which are saying that sending any troops on the ground in Gaza is effectively sacrificing all of those hostages immediately. And we've heard that over and over again.
Yeah, absolutely. But as I speak to people out of Israel who are very supportive of the government there, and they just say, you know, Hamas is a terrorist organisation. This is the only option we have on the table. But it's a really interesting conversation.
But haven't they exhausted most of the military options in the past almost 2 years? What's more to be done?
I think this is the big strategic question.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of people are asking this question when it comes to the Israeli military. What happens the day after the occupation of Gaza and you've gone in and occupied it? What's the strategic plan after that?
Yeah, because then you no longer have the big issue, which is what they had, which was the hostages, because there will no longer be hostages to be released at that point, and you wonder, well, what's the end game there? And we don't know that, and that's been brought up many times, and I know we've spoken to many experts who've said, what is Israel's plan? And nothing has been roadmapped.
Yeah. And therein lies one of the big issues in this whole situation. But thank you so much for your thoughts on that. Stay right there as we move on to another story now. And Nigel Farage has unveiled his party's plans to deal with illegal migration if Reform UK were to win the next election. He claims men, women and children will be deported if they enter the country unlawfully. The party's plan, Operation Restoring Justice, will take the UK out of the European Convention on Human Rights and other international treaties. The Reform UK leader says detention centres will also be built on military sites just to speed up those removals. OK, so Jono, we saw Nigel Farage delivering that speech today. It was quite a long one. It was about an hour and a half. He had quite a lot to say. But a lot of people are saying that the language used throughout this speech that he did make was really interesting.
I think it was used to escalate the threat in the minds and the psyche of the public, of the British public. And this is something Nigel Farage, I think, likes to do. He does enjoy pushing the envelope, loves a good long speech where he gets to have a bit of a mouthpiece moment. And there's a lot of similarities in what we saw with his speech today versus the US. A lot of similarities. Same rhetoric is kind of what we're being fed from both. But yes, there was a shock and awe value language to what was being used there as well. It would have once been considered quite extreme in British politics to see such language being used. But I think since the Reform Party came into being, we're seeing this being used a lot more. Now, and this is, again, purely speculatively speaking, from word on the street, from the British public, is that change is needed. And otherwise, Reform would not have had such huge success in the recent mayoral elections across the regions in the UK.
But it's also in the polls.
Yeah.
I mean, all the YouGov polling that's coming out of the UK, we just got new polling yesterday. Reform is well in the lead.
Yeah, but I think he needs that strong language to win the support. And he is hugely popular with young voters as well, who have got a big following for Nigel Farage, and the level of the undercurrent, which is now becoming a little bit maybe tipping towards the majority of people who feel not enough has been done to curb what is now effectively epidemic in the UK.
And what's really interesting is Nigel Farage's popularity among the younger crowd is also down to how great he is on TikTok.
Yes,
and that's
absolutely.
been a massive talking
social
point.
media.
But this is what I interviewed the deputy leader of the Reform Party earlier, Richard Tice, and I basically said to him, where is Keir Starmer? Where is the Prime Minister? He's nowhere to be found. And he's basically saying, he can't speak to the people. He's completely out of touch. But this is where Nigel Farage is winning the votes, isn't he, Ralia?
Yeah.
Because he's got that Donald Trump charisma. He's got that stage presence. He's got that strong language.
Absolutely. He's got the support of the youth as well.
Yeah.
And he's almost stepping in as dictating policy as almost Prime Minister. But that's a really good question. Where is Keir Starmer?
I don't think there's anything he could have said today that would have made an ounce of difference. And I think that's why when you've nothing sensible to say, maybe just don't say anything at all. Because I don't know how he can walk in front of the British public and say, OK, well, look, Nigel Farage is talking gobbledygook, because he's not. Look at the figures. All you have to look at is 28,000 arrivals so far this year. And then if
the highest ever.
The highest ever.
Yes.
And up 45% since Labour went into power. If Keir Starmer was to walk out and say, don't worry, we're sending back 100 this weekend, he would be laughed, he'd be ridiculed, because what they're sending back to France is 100 asylum seekers, which cost approximately 25,000 British pounds per year in order to be able to house and to home. What they're receiving instead is 100 asylum seekers. The cost of that in 2019 was about 14,000 British pounds. Now it's 44,000 pounds. So we're giving away 2.5 million pounds of debt, and we're going to inherit 4.5 million pounds of debt. That's a difficult conversation to have with the British public.
It's a very
Absolutely.
difficult conversation, and I would agree with you on that. But also, he spoke about the European Convention of Human Rights, which I also thought was really interesting, taking the UK out of the ECHR. Now, this is nothing new. This was discussed the whole Brexit conversation. I remember Boris Johnson talking about the ECHR. This is a conversation I feel like pops up in the UK for, gosh, the last decade, you know, ever since I can remember covering UK politics. Is it extreme to do this? Because basically what he's saying is if Reform want to put in these hardline policies to support the British people, we need to get rid of all the lawyers.
Well, what he's saying basically is that he will make sure that any barriers that get used by these lawyers that you're talking about, Leigh-Ann, to prevent any deportation will be removed. And if it means to get out of any, treaties, basically change the law, that would be, that's what he's saying,
But
practically.
Actually, I spoke, as I mentioned, to the Deputy Leader of Reform UK, Richard Tice. I asked him what he had to say to the Lib Dem leader who said Farage is following Putin by promising to leave the European Convention of Human Rights. Take a listen to his reply.
Ludicrous statements by an irrelevant politician in the United Kingdom. So Winston Churchill, he actually defended our borders during the Second World War. He prevented an invasion. So Winston Churchill would be proud of a leader that is brave, that is strong, and protects our sovereignty and our citizens. And that's what we're going to do. And if the Labour government is so terrified of reform that they actually adopt our plans in the intervening years, then that's a good thing too. And we would congratulate them if they adopt our plans, copy our plans, and actually stop this invasion. And that's what it is. And I know it's uncomfortable for people to hear that sort of language, but we face an emergency.
There we are. It's an emergency invasion. He just basically said the Lib Dem leader is irrelevant, which maybe many people do agree with. But I don't know what you thought about what he had to say there about...
Well, I think, 2029 may not seem like the longest time away, but there's a lot to be done in that time. And I really don't think Keir Starmer is going to have an impact on it. The solution of what we're hearing here, and the mention of the Nightingale Hospital, or the Nightingale kind of an idea where you'd have a centre, is very similar to what we've seen in the US. So I think that is the kind of idea that they're going for, but not new. And I think we've also heard as well from the Conservative Shadow Home Secretary, from Chris Phillip, who said that this is very similar to what we've come up with. So this idea has been touted before, but Nigel Farage, everything he says it with more punch. And I think, much to what Arabiya said, he's got the young voters, he's got people riled up, and the UK is in this, it's on the precipice of something here, and I think he's kind of tapping into that. But I don't know if they can afford to lose another Prime Minister. I don't know if that's something that's on the cards, and it's possible.
And I mean, 1 year into his, term, let's put Keir Starmer into context, got an absolute massive landslide in that election, and now he's facing this. That would just be an epic fall from grace.
Absolutely.
Not as epic as not as epic as some previous prime ministers.
Theresa May, I can see you
or
thinking.
Theresa May in her 11 days.
But the thing is, I mean, as you said, Nigel Farage has actually aligned himself with a global trend, which is, most countries, the right is rising. Anti-immigration sentiment is rising very high. And therefore, he is aligning himself to at least, the policy that the young people who are not getting enough jobs, not getting the benefits that they used to, their parents used to get because of the rise in immigration, will definitely vote for
again, and I think it is a case of, we've seen in the US what happens when you open something like Alligator Alcatraz or Cornhusker or Clink as well, that you may encounter some of the issues that you're trying to think, well, how do you get past that? Being part of the European Commission on Human Rights means that it might be difficult to do that without so much legal red tape. Then Nigel Farage is just foresighting that, thinking, you know what, we need this to go before we can make this happen.
And I think a lot of the reason is because we remember the Conservative leader, Kemi Badenoch, also came out today and basically said Nigel Farage has just copied our homework. He's just ripped off what the Conservatives planned to do, and that was with the Rwanda scheme. But the Rwanda scheme, I don't know if you remember, but there were aeroplanes with migrants ready to deport them to Rwanda, and they wouldn't let them off the runway because of this legal red tape in place. But if you looked at the figures during that Rwanda scheme time, they actually dropped the people crossing over the channel. So basically Nigel Farage is saying, yes, we are kind of copying this. We're going to make it a little bit more our language, but also get rid of that red tape, you know, start doing our homework before we have to actually put it into practice. Because listen, there's no general election until 2029. This is all if so, maybe, could happen. That's honest truth here. Right now, Labour's in power and they're pushing their one in, one out scheme.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But now, I mean, there's even more parallels to the US, as you mentioned as well, Jono, because there was mention of possibly putting these migrants, because we are talking about a plan that includes deporting roughly about 500,000 people over 5 years. Now, where are they going to put these people up until they deport them? There is talk about Nightingale centers, like the ones that were set up, you know, very, very fast outside hospitals and in parking lots during COVID, that maybe they would set up something similar. But also another parallel is drawn here with Trump's alligator Alcatraz that he assembled, basically, or he set up in Florida, in the middle of Florida's swampland, yet it basically faced a lot of legal hurdles and pushback, and it was recently also ordered to be dismantled. The talk about the Nightingale centers might not actually work. It's just speculative so far. The government has not basically announced anything official about it, and there's a huge chance it will not work, not in the UK.
Not in the UK.
You had an opinion about this.
Well, no, because I believe that I think there is a call from people who want something radical. And I think this is the level of radical that the UK will cling on to. And if Nigel Farage, and if he was successful in moving away from the Human Rights Commission, then I think you can look at something like this being possible without the red tape. The fall down for alligator Alcatraz in the US, yes, there's legal ramifications, but I think they're going to solve that and rectify that with Cornhusker Clink, the new kind of alligator Alcatraz without all the ramifications.
Environmental sort of challenges.
Better environmental option. And I think Nigel Farage will look at it differently and say, how do we make this so that it's not dehumanizing people, but that it is going to work towards solving the problem? Because I don't know otherwise how they're going to work on this volume of illegal immigrants and getting them back across the border at a rate of 100 a week. It's ludicrous.
Well, it must cost a lot of money also to house these migrants until deportation. I mean, they put them up in hotels. We're talking about 32,000 people as of June.
Yeah, 10 billion British pounds for 5 years is the cost. And there's also the hidden cost, the legal challenges that are in there. The longer they're there, that pushes it far higher. So yes, there is a cost.
And also, you know, you mentioned this, but strain on the NHS, the free medical service there, dentists, housing. I mean, the list goes on and on, but we could talk about this forever, I think. But thank you so much for your thoughts on that. Stay right there as we now move on to another story. And Donald Trump has threatened tariffs and export restrictions on countries targeting US tech giants like Google and Apple. The warning puts pressure on the UK and EU countries, including France, Italy and Spain, while Canada has already scrapped its digital services tax. Trump also singled out China over rare earth magnets, raising tensions amid a fragile US-China trade truce. OK, so, Jono, tariff threats, not unusual. What's happening now?
Well, it's a very Trump rhetoric again, but these foreign digital taxes that are in place and the regulations that go along with them as well, he thinks are unfairly targeting companies that are operating out of the US. So we're talking Google, Meta, Amazon, Apple, the big hitters here. And he says that these rules that are in place are actually what's hurting American firms. And Chinese tech companies are getting a lighter deal as a direct result of that. So he's saying the amount of money, even the UK's digital tax, digital service tax, that's getting about 800 million British pounds a year from global tech firms. Yeah. So similar to these exist in France and in Italy and Spain as well. So he's saying, right, listen up, EU, UK, roll back your measures And he's got enough recent data to say that this is the right thing to do. They've all got deals with Washington now, we know this. He's kind of got the upper hand here. It is one of these classic Trump tough talks on tariffs to try and get some leverage in there as well in these wider trade negotiations. But he's saying because they're not fair, then they need to be lessened, which it's part of the MAGA movement.
And I do also feel like, come on, we've got to look at countries across the EU. They do this. Mm-hmm. This has been in place with them for a really long time. It's America that isn't doing it. So the argument to this would be like, well, why isn't America doing it already? There is an argument in that. And I think Donald Trump will be playing on that argument. Mm-hmm. But I also feel like tariffs no longer makes us feel scared anymore.
There's something more.
The word tariff,
Scarier.
do you remember it used to fill the whole global markets and everything with like massive concern. Now all of a sudden we're like tariffs and we're like, oh.
Old news.
And now what? But actually there has been a development, some breaking news. Fed Governor Lisa Cook will sue Donald Trump to keep her job. Lawyers are saying this. So basically Cook is to seek judicial, some notice on that, a judicial decision to continue her role in the Fed, and that's according to a Fed statement that we are just getting out now. Okay.
That's what we mean when we say more.
More. This has been one interesting moment. I must say something. The Federal Reserve, 100% independent from, you know, we know that, and it's been like that, and the reason is so it can't be influenced. Now Donald Trump is saying that he is going to fire the Fed Governor Lisa Cook, and it's all over mortgage fraud, which the Republican Party is claiming is the reason. I mean, the big conversation doesn't even have the power to do this. I mean, Rawia,
there will be a legal pushback, as we saw, because the person concerned, Lisa Cook, Governor Lisa Cook, is actually seeking a judicial decision to stay in her job and to reverse her dismissal by President Trump. Now, whether it was legal or not for him to try and remove her, well, apparently, while the president can appoint governors of the Federal Reserve, removing them is much, much harder. And you need to, the only reason the president has the right to remove these governors is because, or due to cause, and that is misconduct or negligence.
Yes.
And it's supposed to be misconduct or negligence that happened during office. Now, the mortgage fraud that Trump is referring to apparently happened in 2021, and it was, or apparently it was a double, that she's, if I remember correctly, the details of it was that she declared two main residents at the same time in two different locations. But apparently that was public knowledge, and it was known to the Congress when she was sworn in 2022.
Yeah.
And therefore it is easily, I think, legally challengeable in court, and probably Lisa Cook will be able to reverse that decision.
And I think it's really interesting, right, because before you could even be a Fed governor, you go through a lot of scrutiny to make sure that you are the right person for the job. And it's such a fascinating situation because obviously, let's be honest about it, Donald Trump and the Fed chair, Jerome Powell, they've been at odds with each other. Jerome Powell will not slash interest rates. Lisa Cook is, of course, on the board who makes the interest rate decision. She isn't slashing interest rates. She sided with Powell. So now the conspiracy theory is...
Powell has softened his tone, though, recently, Powell. But even though there are speculations that he might be next after Lisa to be targeted
you have to
by
wonder.
Trump.
Anytime you hear these stories, you always wonder. You wonder what they've just done to the administration, or specifically to Donald Trump, in order for them to be on the firing line for this one. And I think this is very much a case of looking back and trying to find something almost private investigator level of looking back at somebody's history to find something that they've done in order to justify why their head will be on the chopping block. And that's, I think, unfortunately for Lisa Cook, exactly what we're seeing happen here. And I think it could have been something as simple as a spelling mistake at this stage on her mortgage approval would have landed her in some hot water. And I think that that's And we've seen this before. This is not the first time we've seen Trump and the administration.
No,
do the
he's
exact
done
same
this
thing.
3 times before. And mortgage fraud, he's accused Adam Schiff, Senator Adam Schiff,
of a similar mortgage fraud before. But you know what? With Donald Trump, the show will go on. So right now, we might not know the answers to Lisa Cook, but I tell you something,
I mean,
it's not the end of the episode.
It's definitely not the end, but it's a major escalation
Yeah,
in,
it
this,
is
in this
indeed.
war against the central bank, and its independence is really at stake if it goes through.
No, and stay right there as we move on to another story now. And season 2 of the Duchess of Sussex's TV show With Love Meghan has been released on Netflix today. The series was filmed at a house in Montecito and features celebrities like Chrissy Teigen and John Legend, whilst also giving us a glimpse of what her family life is actually like. But the Duke of Sussex and their children, Archie and Lilibet, do not actually feature in the show. Oh, Rawiya, what's your verdict on all of this? Are you surprised, first of all, that she even got another Netflix series because it was so panned, wasn't it? Like it was just
I haven't
basically-
seen season 1 and I haven't seen season 2, to be honest with you. But anyways, I mean, I'm not surprised at all. I mean, we're talking about Netflix. I think it is dedicated, or at least it's produced for the American audience. Generally, any audience is extremely curious about royals. Generally, American audience is extremely interested and fond, at least historically, and interested and curious about the British royals specifically. A lot of drama surrounded Harry and Meghan in the past few years, books, scandals, you know. Therefore, yes, definitely. Why wouldn't it be? It's a great show. It's great TV.
Even the critics...
From a producer point of view, because people are going to watch it, even if they hate it, they will watch it, I think.
Well, we must make an admission.
Look at his face.
Jono
He's seen it. I haven't.
I'm the only one out of the 3
I haven't.
who's
No, I
watched
haven't
it.
watched it. I can't put
Okay.
myself
No, I
through
haven't
it.
watched
I'm
it.
sorry.
Look, it's an experience. It's a journey, isn't it? And you have to go along with Meghan Markle for it. The Duchess of Sussex for it. Which,
Yes.
by the way, had I done
Politically
that
correct.
in the show, she would correct you over and over again. And she says that many, many times in season 1. Season 2 is more of the same again. What is it? Well, it's basically at-home cookery is a loose term to describe this. It's a wholesome show where Meghan shows you how inadequate your life is versus how wonderful her life is and how she's been the ultimate mom and she's doing it all
Her
herself.
too?
Seems that way.
Everybody does.
Harry and Meghan can do really no right, and they can do everything they do is wrong, regardless. The tabloids will jump on them. And the British tabloids specifically, they keep their life too private. The tabloids jump on that and say you're being too standoffish. We know where do we find out about you? And they keep their life too public, and then same situation again. What's happened with this TV show is I think that for a US audience, and much like what you said, Rawiya, there's this fascination with the royal family, and of which she is a member, although she's married into it. There is a fascinating factor with this. It's a very Disney story.
She's an actress
She's
as
an
well.
actress. She's married.
already in the public eye.
Absolutely.
You know, people are curious about
It's
her.
very Wallace Simpson vibes, you know.
Yeah.
She marries someone who's an heir to the throne, and it's all wonderful, and they have this big fairy tale wedding, and then things don't go so well. It's a Disney story gone wrong. That's what this is. And there's a fascination element with that, which is wonderful. But for a UK audience or for a European audience, it's a bit toe curling. The whole thing is a bit cringe.
So, I feel like, you know, let's try and look at the positives in the cringe, if we want to put it that way. I thought it was actually quite sweet that, you know, we now know that Harry told her, I love you first. She apparently fell in love on their 3rd date, which was in Botswana, where I was born. So that's a nice place to, I know it's a nice place to fall in love, Botswana. But I also like the fact that we found out the kids' favourite breakfast, pancakes and eggs. We get a little look into the glamorous life.
And what
You
she
know-
missed the most about the UK.
And what
actually
was
the
it?
radio stations.
Really?
Yes.
Which one did she listen to?
Oh God, I forgot which one.
But look, there is, of course, there's that element.
Which one?
And I do think what you're looking at here as well, if it was somebody else hosting this, and I really think that, if Martha Stewart had done the TV show that Meghan Markle is, that the Duchess of Sussex is doing, I will continue to make that mistake, and had got Tan Frank in to talk to her about that, we'd look at it and go, this is wholesome, this is nice. Look, here she is making pancakes for the kids in the morning. Isn't that lovely? Her kids call them freckles when she puts chia seeds on the food. That's kind of a nice vibe, and we're getting a...
But Martha Stewart threw shade at this.
Exactly. But I think if it was anybody else who'd done this, we'd say it's a lovely, wholesome show. But she's got that dislikability factor with the press and with the media that people just love to rag on her.
A controversy.
There's a controversy
right.
element that goes with it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, there's some loose elements that she alludes to the family, so we get a bit of an insight. And I think people thrive on that. People love things like The Crown. This is The Crown, but it's the modern day version of it. And it's on Netflix. And will I watch episode 2? Absolutely, I'll be watching episode 2 just to see who's the next guest.
Seriously? Yeah. So you are going to watch it?
Of course I'm going to watch it, but and I think everyone, it's apparently season 3 on the way. Season 2 wouldn't have happened if people hadn't watched season 1. So either
But
it's
nobody watched
That's what I'm
season
saying.
1.
But I think there's a
It was
fascination
so
factor.
low. It was
People
like
must have
rated
watched
300 in Netflix.
But did it get
no,
Netflix
they brought
mentioned?
Out the figures.
Seriously?
But yeah, no, it was so low. It was crazy low. But I don't know what the ins and outs of it.
There's got to be. There's a movie that's on Amazon that's the worst movie ever. It's the lowest score on Rotten Tomatoes. It's on Amazon because it's got the lowest score. It had talkability. We've all known that she had a TV show.
There's no publicity.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I must say something that I like the fact that we do get these little tidbits, like Harry said, I love you first, what the kids like to do. I mean, it's always nice.
we're all curious. I think this is human nature. We're all curious about each other's lives, let alone the life of a royal or somebody who married into royalty.
My life is very boring, but...
Mine too. As the Duchess
will prove.
Proved to us, actually.
Yeah, I'm very inadequate compared to Montecito. Anyway, and finally, Rawia and Jono, you've come up with a couple of quirky stories of the day. And Jono, I just love this story because it's very personal to you, and it's about Limerick locals, and they're teaming up to save a village pub. And Limerick's an island, in case anyone didn't know.
It's in Ireland, yeah, but this is a Hearns pub in Kilteely, which is actually where my dad is from originally.
Wow.
And that bar was on the close of the brink of closure after 40 years. Now, there's been a bar in that location for 150 years, and the locals saw it as a hub. It was where many a family occasion was there. We've had many birthday parties there, family gatherings, and because it was
Do you have memories of the place
memories
yourself?
of this, and I think everyone who lives in that area, it's quite a small village, everyone has memories of that particular place, and the locals were worried it was going to close, so they got together. They raised €300,000. 26 of them got together, and they've now reopened it as the street bar run by locals for locals, and it means that there's somewhere to go. It's been run by a business board of directors, managers there as well. They're not publicans. They're just people who really wanted to have a local to go along to, and the 150-year-old heritage of the bar on the street has been maintained.
Oh, wow.
And I think this story has been all over the globe. Many places have carried this story. I think it's going to get a viral traction because people will see this, hear people talking about it, and want to go and check it out.
And I agree with that, but I also think that sometimes the pub in the village or where you're from is just where the whole community gets together.
Yeah.
So I think it's absolutely wonderful because...
It's like a town hall.
It's a town hall.
Absolutely.
It's where so much happens. You know, people get married, people meet each other.
And
it's
generations
like,
go there. So people have a lot of memories.
Many more. Now at least it's open again. Many more Hayes family events can take place there, and my dad and I can sit there and talk about life and going forward. So at least it's still there when I go back to look at it again.
Oh my God, I love this story.
We should go and visit.
Yes,
You're
I'll
more
pull
than
some
welcome.
pints behind the bar. Anyway, Rawia, and let's get on to yours, because yours is really surprising. It's about unusual jobs that actually pay pretty good money.
I know, very weird jobs. Okay, I'm going to tell you what are the jobs and how much they're making, apparently. So you have paper towel sniffer. You sniff the fragrances of the fragrant
I love
different
the coconut
towels.
ones. You know, you can get the coconut smelling
to make
ones.
sure that the scent is
they're
right.
nice,
And you can get paid £38,000 a year for that. You don't need to work for long. As long as you don't have a cold, you're okay.
Yeah.
Or a flu. Then you have professional queuer, somebody to queue for you, you know, in restaurants, bars, whatever that needs queuing. You can charge up to £24 per hour. You have professional cuddler. basically. You can give cuddling therapy for £70 an hour. That's quite good. And then you have pet food taster. It's very weird. But you can make £50,000.
It's crazy.
Tasting food, pet food for I don't know what purpose.
I mean,
but
I could.
But there's one more left.
Tell us.
I'll tell you about it. It's a secret hotel sleeper. You go and try. You test hotels. You know, that would be nice.
This.
They would pay you £200 per night.
My God, that's
Wow.
amazing.
That's,
Jono, what would yours be?
Well, no,
quickly?
I've always wanted to do this, and I've registered so many times and nobody gets back. I want to do the secret shopping. Like, I want to be the mystery shopper who goes in. And so nobody's ever called me back. So instead, and I hope if this gets out, then everyone's going to do it. But I take a small notebook with me to restaurants I haven't been to before or establishments I want to get good service in. And I'll pop it on the table beside me. And while I'm there, I'll bring out my pen and then just kind of leave it there. And I'll casually write notes, which are normally just doodles, throughout my experience.
That's so sneaky.
It's sneaky,
Seriously.
but is the service good? Yes, it is.
Do you
but
get
I don't
anything
get paid money for it.
complimentary? Do you get anything complimentary?
No, and of course I would never take it if I did.
But I do think it's such a. I think these little quirky jobs are just fabulous, and you never really think of them. And then when they're outlined, it's actually a really good idea because no one. I hate standing in a queue, and if there was a massive sale of a big book or, a concert or whatever,
I would hire a private.
I would hire someone to do that for
definitely.
me.
To keep your spot in the queue for a bathroom at a festival or something, that's one of those things where you could be gone to go and get your hot dog, pop back, somebody's still in the queue.
Absolutely.
That's surely worth $20, definitely.
Oh my gosh, absolutely priceless. But thank you so much for those stories. It was great to have them. And that's all from us on W News Extra. Thanks to our guests, Al Arabiya senior presenter Rawia Alami and Dubai 92 presenter Jono Hayes. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and of course follow us on X. G&T with Tom Burgess Watson will be coming up next. Goodbye and thank you for joining us.